Good morning and welcome to Purpose Driven Finances, where our focus is helping you use your finances to achieve the purpose and plan for your life. And now here's the host of Purpose Driven Finances, Alan Molina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning. This is Alan Molina, your host of Purpose Driven Finances, president of Serwus Capital Management. How was your glorious weekend going? Hey, there's no snow, no ice, just cold, which is expected in January. Sitting here with my favorite co-host, Rich Roth. How you doing, my friend?
Morning.
You keeping warm?
It's been a challenge this week.
It has been. It has been. And I heard that Ivy Lake in some places has 5 inches of ice.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I would not advise you going out on it. But that's what I heard. Even saw pictures. Someone's daughter started walking out on it, and I was like,
Yeah, leave your ice house at home, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly. Makes me a little nervous.
And your auger to drill the hole to go ice fishing.
That would be so fun. What I don't understand when
it's not fun.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
I've done it.
I'm not a cold guy. You know, I like warmth. You know, I can't imagine taking my tin out there, taking my little stove, taking augers and chairs. I guess if you drive up to it, it's not that bad.
You do.
But, you know, what about those igloos, not the igloos, but the houses like in Iceland and in Greenland that they make out of ice you sleep in?
Oh.
It's not very appealing.
Not to me either.
Yeah, me either. But, Rich, good to see you today. Folks, my phone number is 434-316-0246. You know what I'm finding in my business, Rich, is the clients and prospective clients are calling like it's springtime and the ice is starting to break on the ocean, not in the ocean, but on the lake surface.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's because of Trump. You know, people are like taking a sigh of relief and saying, you know what, let's call. I've gotten a lot of calls on Friday. I was busy the entire day with prospective clients.
And you know what I would guess that is? And I'm going to guess because
I like guesses.
Clearly, I don't know. But my guess is that in the first week of him being president, he's doing everything he said he was going to do.
He is.
You know, and how often have we ever seen that?
Right, exactly.
Right? I mean, we don't. Politicians, wait, there's a politician who's doing what he said he was going to do?
It's crazy.
Like it's shocking.
Right.
But he's doing it. And I'll tell you, the thing that stands out the most to me is I keep thinking to myself, can he really do this?
Right.
Because he's making it look so easy. Like, oh, I'm going to release the RFK and the JFK stuff, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, is it really that easy for a president to do all this? Because our whole lives,
right,
we've been conditioned to think, well, it's got to go through Congress, and there's the Constitution, and, you know, amendments, and, you know, judicial branches, and, you know, the president, checks and balances, right?
Exactly.
And yet he's just stroking a pen.
And he's taking care of business. And I think what we're learning is the bureaucracy and the elites want all of the sand in the motor of the American government and economy to be at a standstill. So we, as normal citizens, are left in the lurch and ignorant and frustrated, and therefore they can continuously line their pockets, the elites and the bureaucrats, in order to get themselves rich, and we kind of left with the crumbs. That's how I feel.
I was watching one of his press conferences yesterday.
Yes.
And I sent you the clip.
Yes.
Because, you know, and why I'm thinking of you at 10 o'clock at night.
It's so special.
There are some issues there.
That's great.
There are some deep-seated issues.
Mm-hmm.
But the other night, I'm sitting there watching one of his press conferences, and, you know, someone says, someone asked him a question about the Fed and interest rates. And, and he was saying, yeah, we're going to lower interest rates. And they asked, well, do you think the Fed's going to go along with that? And he just gives this, this crap-eating grin look. And he's like, yeah.
Right.
They're going to listen. He didn't say anything else. He just said, yeah.
Right.
They're going to listen.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that it is amazing, like you said, that he's actually doing what he said. you showed me a video right before we started airing of in North Carolina.
Oh, yep.
And, the motorcade and the people cheering. And, before you showed me the video, I actually saw a couple snippets that he actually has sent back the Corps of Engineers to go back and rebuild the roads and the bridges. Because I don't know if you remember, there was some West Virginia boys.
Yeah, you talked about this on the show.
With some bulldozers and some farm equipment.
And they got stuff done.
Exactly. But the bureaucrats didn't.
Right.
And he is saying, listen, go back and do it. Because if they can do it, bro, come on, man. Take $1 billion or $2 billion that you sent to Ukraine and put it to North Carolina, and it will be done. Another thing that I saw.
Not just that, the California people, too. It's like they're getting way more money than the people in North Carolina got.
But Rich, if you're relying on the elites in order to fund your campaign, why are you going to help out a home owner that is worth $150,000, $200,000, $300,000? Wouldn't you rather help out a home that is worth $2, $3, $4, $5 million?
Clearly, Biden would.
If you're an elite,
and if they're the ones putting the money in your pockets and the votes in your
that's what you do
in your column.
That's what you do. And so I'm excited about it. And also, I thought this was awesome. I heard that President Trump, during his press conference in North Carolina, he actually turned it over to the people and said, what insurance companies are stiffing you? And they were named. I can...
when he called out Bank of America earlier in the week.
Right.
I mean, his... All right, so as long as if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
All right, so I'm watching, Inauguration Day, Monday. I didn't get to see any of it during the day.
Right.
Slammed, whatever. Wife goes to bed early. I've got a couple of my adult beverages going. I'm like, I'm in the mood to be entertained. So I watched his inauguration speech, and I mean, it was entertaining.
Right.
I mean, because he was killing the people sitting right behind him.
It was, yes. And
then Bank of America, he's not pulling punches.
He's not.
He doesn't need to worry about re-election.
He doesn't.
You learn lessons the first time. Here's what I'm going to do.
Right. And when I also heard this week that some folks who they love the Green New Deal.
Too bad.
They're like, you need to communicate to all of the, not Trump, but all the European countries and all the countries in the world, do not learn from Trump. You need to keep the Green New Deal going. The Green New Deal is a failure. I mean, when's the last time you talked to a liberal and they wanted to save a salamander? And, the flowers they grow. That's why they're not giving water to the folks in California.
Mm-hmm.
But they're killing all kinds of whales. And the North Atlantic whale, if the wind farms continued, there's a concern that they go extinct. But they don't care because they get these ugly fans out in the middle of the ocean that don't always work. And so now folks are saying, Alan, you folks have spent 10 minutes talking about what's going on, because realistically, folks, it affects your portfolio. Did you know that the small business sentiment indicator is at the highest it's been since 1983?
Love that.
And small businesses, they're going to be higher. 20% of small businesses in America have said that they're going to be hiring, but the large businesses are cutting back. And it's simply because of optimism and hope and growth and things such as that. That being said, what's going to end up happening is a couple things for your portfolio. One, if you don't embrace crypto, 5-10 years down the road, you're going to be left behind. I'm nowhere near saying that things are going to the moon. You know what I did I was so upset that I missed it. The Trump coin. It came out on the Friday before inauguration at 10 o'clock at night. I got to figure out how to learn about all these meme coins. But it went from like 45 cents to $70.
Wow.
I bought it at 25.
You can still get the Trump watch.
Yeah. But I can't trade that. I don't have price action. So I bought it at 25 and I sold it at 48
That's a nice return.
in 2 days. And no clients were harmed or gained in that. I did it over the weekend or, during, because I was off that Monday. And I'm not suggesting the Trump coin or anything like that. That was just a funny ancillary story. But there's a large amount in the finance arena that is occurring that's going to be on the blockchain and things such as that. And I've already said that down the road this year we're going to have shows really talking about the crypto world. That being said, I think Trump is, he just did a presidential executive order around crypto. I think it's mainly to research it. I think one thing I like about Trump this time is he's going slower, and he is not allowing his powder to get wet by posting at 10 o'clock at night on some social media. Mm-hmm. What he's doing is he's just doing it, and he's doing it at a measured pace. Like he is studying tariffs to Canada and Mexico, and that's going to affect your portfolio. But realistically, folks, in your portfolio, in the QPM right now, every client has 3 forms of crypto. We have Bitcoin. We actually have a ETF that pays out, Rich, the annual payout. Last time I looked, it's probably changed. It's 37%. It follows the Bitcoin, but it pays out 37% in dividends.
Wow.
It changes. Mm. And but the main thing is it follows the price action. And you say, how much is in your portfolio? We have 2% in Bitcoin, 2% in that, and then we have 2% in blockchain. And what will happen is as price movement changes, and what I mean by that is if price goes down, we will either short Bitcoin or get out. Because I look at Bitcoin as a commodity. I don't understand oil, how they boil it and come up with like 7 different things out of it. But I can use oil in a portfolio, A, to diversify, but B, also, I just want the gains. Mm. Because we have a stop loss in all of these. I track them on a daily basis, and we go from there. So, folks, you need to really look at your portfolio and diversify. December was a tough month. The beginning of January was tough. The past 8 days have been really good. What's going to happen the next 8? I don't know. I guess we'll just find out. But, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a short break. And then when we get back from the break, we're going to talk about, what clients always bring up to me, the questions. And this week, we're going to tackle how to monitor your portfolio. Stick around, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Words of wisdom from the woodsman. Life rule number 9. Look for the grift. Our sin nature inherently drives each of us to self-worship and self-preservation. Quoting Proverbs 26:24, the evil-minded will disguise themselves with their lips, but in their hearts they harbor deceit. I'm Tommy the Woodsman. Selflessness, integrity, and authenticity are my priorities. If you want a tree service provider who is going to give you an honest assessment and not try to pull one over on you, then submit a request for an estimate at IHaveASawForThat.com.
It's Brian Kilmeade.
So what's going to happen? A lot of executive orders, I get it. But one thing they got to have is a piece of legislation so it sticks. They got to find a way to extend the tax cuts. They got to start drilling oil and gas. In terms of getting our allies to natural gas, we got to do it. Give them an alternative to buying oil from Iran and Russia. Also, border money. What are they going to do with all the illegals? How are they going to transport them out of the country? It's going to cost money.
The Brian Kilmeade Show, weekday mornings from 9 to noon on WLNI. And now, back to Purpose-Driven Finances. Here's Alan Molina with Serwus Capital Management.
Hey, good morning again. Alan Molina, your host of Purpose-Driven Finances, president of Serwus Capital Management. Sitting here with Rich Roth, a friend of mine, co-host, the guy who planted the seeds.
Jet fan.
A Jet fan. It's great. They
didn't make the Super Bowl.
Well, neither did Steelers. And I hope you guys don't keep.
You weren't worried about that.
I wasn't worried about that.
I know.
And I really wasn't worried about the Steelers. We're not worried about that either.
I kept hearing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Finally got something new on, thank God.
And we'll do something new, soon again. But I hope you guys don't keep Aaron Rodgers, and I hope we don't keep. I like Russell Wilson, great guy. I hope we don't keep him. But
the problem is there's no one else out there.
There doesn't need to be.
Who do you want?
They need to have a competent offense and defense.
But who do you want as a quarterback?
I'm happy with Justin Fields.
Okay.
Justin Fields is fine.
He looked pretty good early on before Russell Wilson.
You know why I think they benched him? Because they now had to give a sixth round compensation rather than a 4. That's what I think, but it doesn't matter. So, folks, this isn't Carter and Company.
You think they tanked their whole season to save a 6 round back?
They thought that Russell would be better.
Yeah.
But folks, sitting here, every time I meet with a prospective client, and when I say every time, I know that's very emphatic, but just about every time, I get asked a certain number of questions. A lot of times they'll go to Google, what questions to ask your financial advisor, your new financial advisor, what to look for. And we've extended this the 5th week. We're going to talk about questions you should ask, unless it goes over to the 6th week. But this week we're talking, 2 weeks ago was about the fiduciary. Are you a fiduciary, and what does that really mean? Last week, we were talking, and I totally forgot. It was like a butterfly. It just flew out of my head. Do you remember what last week was about? I don't remember, Rich.
Don't put me on the spot, Alan.
Yes.
I don't remember what I had for lunch today.
Exactly. I totally forgot what we had last week. But this week, we are talking.
Why don't you check your notes?
That's all right. I have none. This week, we're going to be talking about monitoring your account. Oh, I know. Last week was fee only. What does fee only mean? Because not all firms are fee only. They're fee-like or fee-light.
Or fee-based.
Fee-based, but they're not fee only. And so really we went into the depths of that. Today we're talking about how to monitor your account. Rich is going to ask me some questions, and I'm just going to go from memory, and what comes out.
And again, this is questions that people, ask when they're kind of feeling out a financial advisor. So I like what you said earlier, because you're right. I mean, there's a list, of here are the most asked questions, and I love the idea that at the end of this, in a week or two, you're going to talk about the questions that you think people should ask.
Exactly.
Because it's like, hey, everybody thinks you should ask these, but here are the ones that you really think folks should ask.
Exactly.
But as we look at this, as far as, the whole thing, I mean, give us a quick overview of this week before I start diving into questions as far as what you're looking for.
The first thing that I would suggest you doing is first you got to manage your own expectations. Are you a person that believes in the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, that value is the number one thing that determines portfolio outcome? Are you a person that says you cannot time the market, therefore you buy an index and you just ride it out like you're a Vanguard? Are you like the guy like Peter Lynch that says you buy those things that you use? What I mean by that is you wear Nike shoes, you buy Nike stock. If you buy, if you buy your plants from Home Depot, you buy Home Depot stock. You take your kids to McDonald's, you buy McDonald's. Hopefully you don't buy any Macy's. Go to TJ Maxx.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in with my first question. What if you don't have an investment strategy? I mean, all that stuff makes sense, and some people have those plans or philosophies, but, I would imagine that there are plenty of people out there who say, you know what, I don't know. Right. And it's not, I'm going to leave it up to the expert.
Right. Well, the thing to do is then they say, well, how often do you want your account monitored? And what I mean by that is, do you want someone who just buys the hot stock of the day and lets it sit for the next 10 years? What is your mentality? Because if you don't know there has to be something that resonates with you. I'll give you an example. you're sitting there, and when the stock market is going up, everybody loves risk. Everybody loves risk. If the stock market is going up 20, 30, 40% for a year, everybody loves risk, and they normally like risk after it's too late, once it starts topping out. But how do you feel about your portfolio if the market starts to correct and go down? How do you want your advisor to react? Rich, I was meeting with all day on Friday. That's why I couldn't do as much prep for you as I would have liked to have.
Well, and if I might, because, you walked in and normally, as you guys know, Alan's got notes and outlines and charts and graphs, and he walked in empty-handed. And you apologized to me. You said, "I'm sorry, I'm not more prepared."
Right.
And I joked and said, if I had to apologize for every time I did a show and wasn't as prepared as I wanted to be, I'd have to have "I'm sorry" tattooed on my head.
Exactly.
So you're forgiven, Alan.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But what ends up happening is, what happens when the market starts tumbling? What do you want your advisor to do? Because here's what happens with 95 to 99% of advisors is you go in there and you do a risk profile analysis, and they ask you sometimes complicated questions. When I was at a much larger firm, my previous firm, who doesn't want to be named, I don't know why, but they don't want to be named, they go through there and why are you laughing at me, bro? I don't know. I love them. I would have retired with them. It just didn't work out. But going there, they had a 12-page risk profile, and I would have to interpret it. And so what ends up happening is the risk profile locks you in, whether it's at a big broker-dealer, whether it's at a small RIA. It doesn't really matter. If you go to online Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab, they're going to ask you what risk profile you are. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to be stuck in that for the rest of your life unless you change it. And so when a recession hits or the market drops, do you want your investments to be changed according to the economic environment, or do you just want your advisor to say, "Don't worry, it'll come back"? That's really the heart of the issue. When things start falling apart, when recession hits, do you want your portfolio to be adjusted to protect it, or do you just want to ride the wave down? That's realistically, to answer your question, Rich, do you want those changes? And it's very simple. I want those changes or I don't want those changes. And so go to your advisor and ask them, "Hey, Mr. Mrs. Financial Advisor, as a recession is coming, how are you going to adjust my portfolio? What is your process in order to adjust my portfolio?" Because I just did a client review, and I sent out a video, Rich. I was halfway through it, I thought I was like 15 minutes in. The video was 30 minutes long.
That's like those days where you come in with an outline and you go, "I don't know if we have enough to talk about."
Right.
I'm like, "Alan, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Trust me."
I talked, and the last 5 minutes, I said, we need to run through 2025. So the last 4 minutes, 2025. I felt bad for my clients, but it's 30 minutes of, and then in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be diving deep into the QPM, the dynamic asset allocation, and the triple P, or P cubed, in order it'll be interesting to see what clients listen to those, because it's going to be deep dive. That being said, folks, the reason I bring all this up is because if you're sitting there and you're looking at your portfolio and you go to me, the financial advisor, and you tell me, "Hey, Alan, I don't care if you ever look at it in a recession," that's an easy client to have. That means that no matter what happens, you're happy. But what happens when it starts going down? What happens if your portfolio goes down 10%, 20%, 30%? It's dramatic. Now, I know I got on a rabbit trail. The reason I shared about the video I sent out to clients this week on Thursday is because, Rich, what ended up happening was in that video I showed two charts, and I've mentioned them here before. that if you miss, like from 1930 to 2020, the average return for a portfolio, the average return for the S&P 500 is 18,000%. If you take out the top 10 days of each decade, it's 33%. That's a dramatic difference. We're not talking about average annual. We're talking about total. If you take out the worst 10 days of each decade, guess how much the returns are?
How much?
4 million%. Actually, a little bit more.
Wow.
And so the issue there is it's the hogwash, the manure. I think those are radio words that I can use. I think so.
You just did.
Exactly. Those manure words of trying to skip the worst days, all you got to do is skip the recessions. It's not rocket science. But what happens, Rich, is if you miss the top 10 days in each decade and the worst 10 days, your return's a little over 28,000% from 1930 to 2020. And so you're actually 51% of just riding the market if you just miss those days. So the reason I share that is because your financial advisor, the questions I would ask, your current one, but also if you're shopping for a new one, is what is your process in order to examine my account? I'll tell you what I do that separates me from everybody else, because I got tired of it. I got tired of a client coming in and saying, Alan, we're in the middle of a recession. What are you going to do? It looks like we're down 20%. What are you going to do? I never wanted that. I wanted to have a reason. So literally what I do on a daily and weekly basis, I look at every investment in the QPM. I don't look at everybody's account. I got several hundred accounts. That being said, I don't look at every account. I'll tell clients, I said, listen, I do not look at your account on a daily basis. But what I do is I look at the investments. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Is it do, comma, do? Is not do,
right.
but do, comma, do.
Right. Gotcha. Great.
I never got hooked on phonics, and sometimes my vernacular is not very good. So that being said, there has to be a process in order to review your accounts. Now the old thing is that people will say, I was meeting with some folks on Friday, need financial planning, in depth. It's just amazing. I like providing solutions. And what's interesting is in the room there was somebody who used to be in the industry. They don't do investments anymore. And they said, Alan, what I was always told is recessions are good because you're just buying at a lower cost. So your
it's on sale.
It's on sale. So your portfolio is down 30%. But hey, you bought 5% more at much lower cost. Thanks, bro. That makes me feel better. I sleep better at night, and I can spend those losses in retirement. That being said, the other item to look at is how often the portfolio is rebalanced. I was talking to a client on Friday, and I told him, I said, I got out of energy on whatever today is, the 28th. I got out of energy, I think, on the 21st, and it started going down. And the reason being is I wanted to capture those gains. And so what ended up happening is we go through the portfolio a lot simply because the goal is to harvest the gains, the little itty-bitty gains, and then move it over to where we think the money will grow. Like on Friday, the QPM was 32% cash because I saw some weakness in the market, and we're just sitting there waiting because it's not a short signal. It's taking a breather. So folks, I hope that answered what you need to do in order to communicate to your advisor. Do you want them to actually try to manage through a recession, or do you just want to hear the phrase, don't worry, they'll come back? And so I'm not, no, including me, is not going to be perfect and not going to miss everything. But there's things that can be done to protect your portfolio. Give me a call at 434-316-0246. Go to my website, servuscm.com, and have a blessed weekend.
Returns for illustrative purpose. This is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or use a platform. Only will a suggestion occur after a meeting to determine goals, risk tolerance, and time horizons. Investments involve risks and no guarantee of future results.